Good evening, baseball fans. How you doing? Could the Rays actually miss the playoffs this year? Is Pete Alonso a legit MVP contender? Could the Orioles actually make the World Series this year? Let's get to it. Good evening, baseball fans. How you doing? Hello, hello. Who do we got here in the chat? We got Nicholas, one of our moderators here. How you doing, Nicholas? Welcome, welcome. Mason, one of our members, is here. Gabs Katz, how you doing? Caden Lichford, Reed Nolan, all around Lacey. Lucas Hayes, how you doing, my friend? Sean, another member, how you doing, my friend? Hello, hello, hello. Analytical Side of Sports, one of our loyal Rangers fans on the channel. How you doing, my friend? Hello, hello. Everyone, Raksha Dewan, Ed Bagley, another member. How you doing? How you doing? Everyone, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. We got a few good ones tonight. We got one with the Rays. Could they actually miss the playoffs? How about the Baltimore Orioles? Could they actually be World Series contenders? Pete Alonso having himself a pretty good season. Will it be enough to win an MVP? We got a few more sprinkled in here. We got some news to talk about as well. My Red Sox not playing too great the last couple of games. What's going on with the bats? I don't get this Red Sox team. I really don't. They look amazing for a stretch, and then they just go through another stretch where they just look like the complete opposite. I don't know what's going on. Corey Kluber going to the bullpen. A little surprised about that one, actually. You know, I figured Corey Kluber was a guy he's either rotation or nothing. Like Corey Kluber coming out of the bullpen just seems really weird to me. But hey, maybe it can help him get on back on track. We'll have to wait and see. But we got another picture on the Red Sox in the hot takes tonight, so stay tuned for that as well. Yordan Alvarez, could he end up being one of the best hitters of all time? We're going to talk about that one as well. Everyone, let's get to it here. Let's just go over our sponsors for tonight's show. Our first sponsor for tonight is SORARE MLB. Everyone, click the link in the description down below, and you can go ahead and get your team drafted. And we have the weekend tournament coming up. If you have not drafted your team yet, please go click the link. Go draft your team. It's an awesome way to play fantasy baseball. Listen, I know it's a sponsor, but I will only have a sponsor on this channel if I actually enjoy using the product, and it's completely free to play. So you have no excuse to not at least go draft a team. And if you do go draft your team, make sure you click on the other link in the description below to join my private league. That way you can compete against me and other people on the channel as well. Also sponsoring tonight's show is BetOnline, your number one source for all your sports betting needs. We're deep into the NBA playoffs, almost at the NBA Finals. Can my Celtics actually mount a comeback? I don't know. They're just they're so disappointing to me. I don't know. Just like the Bruins, extremely disappointing. But you got basketball. Obviously, we have baseball. You got UFC. You got golf. You got a whole bunch of different sports. So if you want to go see if you can go win yourself some cash, go to BetOnline, your number one source for all your sports betting needs. Use the code BLEAV, BLEAV, and you get a 50% welcome bonus. And if you are going to check out a game this year, use my code Hyde on SeatGeek. You get $20 off on your first purchase. I know you guys are going to the games. I know you're going. So you might as well just use my code. Go see if you can go find yourself a good deal on SeatGeek. I have found myself plenty of good deals on SeatGeek. So go check it out. All right, everyone. Let's get to it here. Let's get to tonight's show. I want to thank all of you for stopping by tonight. We got some fun hot takes tonight. I posted a thread on Twitter for all of you to post your hot takes. I always post a thread on the community tab on my channel. So if you ever want to try and get on to the hot takes show, make sure you're checking it out. I'm probably going to be looking at every Wednesday for hot takes. Usually it feels like I've kind of got a schedule in order now. Probably every Wednesday hot takes, and every Sunday night will be power rankings. So also thank you for everyone coming out this past Sunday. We set a record for the year. We got over 450 viewers on the power rankings the other night. So thank you for stopping by the other night. We've gotten a whole lot of new subscribers from a video I posted this past weekend, biggest busts in Major League Baseball so far. That video is doing pretty well, over 20,000 views. Thank you for watching that. If you are new coming from that video, welcome to the channel. I appreciate it. Don't forget, I did post a video last night as well. Breakout players so far in Major League Baseball. So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. It was a late upload last night. Just got very busy yesterday, but I wanted to get that video uploaded. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. All right, everyone, here we go. Let's get to the first hot take, and let's go have some fun, shall we? Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Rays. They got absolutely shellacked by the Toronto Blue Jays the other night. My goodness. What the heck happened to the Tampa Bay Rays? We haven't seen them getting beat up that bad in God knows how long. I don't even know. But we have a couple here, so I decided to, they're both about the Rays, so I decided to tie them into one hot take. So Benjamin Berger, with how well the entire rest of the division is doing, the Rays will finish last in the AL East and miss the postseason if they don't replace their entire bullpen. And also Matt Lewis, out of the AL East, the Yankees, Orioles, and Blue Jays make the playoffs. After starting out hot, the Rays cool down towards the All-Star break and eventually towards the end of the season. Let's talk about the Rays here. So with the Rays, okay, now I did some math. I did some math, and surprisingly, I actually did some math. My potato brain could actually handle some math. So right now, the Rays are on pace for 114 wins. Pretty decent amount right there. Now, I did the math. If they were to go 500 the rest of the year, let's say they have reached their hottest point, they go 500 the rest of the year. Even if they go 500 the rest of the year, now there's 111 more games left in the season. Let's say they went 55 and 56. Let's say they go one game under 500 for the rest of the year. They will still finish with 91 wins. I mean, with 3 wildcard spots, I find that would be crazy if they have 91 wins with 3 wildcard spots and still fail to make the playoffs. So it's looking a little tough. But now the problem with the Rays is they're running into some depth issues. So if we go take a look at the Rays as of right now, we go take a look at the IL. We got guys all over the IL here. Tyler Glasnow is coming back this week, so stay tuned for him. However, he has been an injury risk. You know, he's had the oblique, he had the Tommy John not too long ago. Will he be durable for the rest of the year? How will he do after, you know, the whole thing with the sticky stuff? You know, that was what ended up affecting him once he stopped using it, and let's see how he does. So we'll have to wait and see. Drew Rasmussen, who knows when he's going to come back? He's got the strained flexor tendon. Can he make it back in the next couple of months? Jeffrey Springs is out for the rest of the year. So if we look at the rotation, as of right now, they're running with a 4-man rotation, but Glasnow will be back. You got McClanahan, who did really well today, picking up his 8th win. Zach Eflin has been pretty solid for the most part, but he is an injury risk as well. This is a guy that's been dinged up over the last few years. Josh Fleming, he's been really hot lately. Taj Bradley, he got knocked around in that game yesterday against the Blue Jays. So, you know, the starting pitching, the upside is there. This rotation, if healthy, is really good. Will they stay healthy? Well, now we don't know that. We don't know. So the bullpen has been struggling this year. I mean, if you go take a look at the power rankings for Fangraphs over the last 14 days, you only have one guy in the top 100, and that's Jalen Beeks. Everyone has been struggling lately. This bullpen has just been awful for the Tampa Bay Rays. So you're having questions with durability when it comes to the rotation. The bullpen has not been performing. Could this end up being a recipe for disaster for the Tampa Bay Rays? Now, with Tampa, we all know that how good that farm system is. So if you're looking at, you know, near the top here, obviously Taj Bradley is going to be here to stay. He's not going back down unless he's just really bad. You got a couple of hitters here that maybe could contribute, like a Curtis Mead and a Kyle Manzardo, but I'm looking at guys that can pitch. Now, they are a little thin when it comes to pitching depth in the organization, at least guys that aren't really on the cusp of contributing, at least right now. But you do have a few guys down in Double-A. We have Mason Montgomery here, the number 6 prospect. You have Cole Wilcox at number 9, and you have Colby White, number 27 as well. He's probably the closest out of all of them, considering like what level he's at. Mason Montgomery and Cole Wilcox are at Double-A right now. But, you know, with the Rays, they've always done some pretty crazy things. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up calling up those guys at some point during the year. So they do have a few guys that maybe could contribute this year. Actually, I want to point out with Colby White, he has actually been doing really well so far. Now, the problem with Colby White is he's a bullpen guy. You know, he's pitched when he last pitched in 2021. Now, I don't know if he's healthy. That's the only problem with him. I don't know if he's even pitching at the moment. So actually, hold on. Let me take a look at this. So Colby White, but when he pitched last in 21, I mean, I don't actually know what's really going on with him. But okay, I'm guessing he had Tommy John because it says elbow here. But I don't know if he's even like getting close to helping out. So you could probably write him. I don't know. I guess just write him off for now. But when he did pitch in 21, it was 43 games out of the bullpen. Going from A ball to high A ball to Double-A to Triple-A. So he can maybe help out in the bullpen, but I wouldn't really count on him for something for the rotation. So you would have to look at these other guys for help possibly in the rotation. So, you know, with the Rays, another thing is that, yes, They do have maybe a few guys that could contribute, but they obviously have some prospects here that maybe you can make a trade. So the Rays, I would imagine they would probably be in the market, for some guys out there. They've brought in guys before as rentals. Like recently, they brought in Nelson Cruz a couple of years ago. So they will bring in rentals, but I would imagine they would like to get guys that are more under control. But then again, I also see the Rays not really splurging going after a guy. But at the end of the day, I think for the Rays, I feel like the Rays probably feel very motivated this year. They're trying to get to a new stadium. If they could win a World Series this year, that would be just great for business all the way around. You're going to be going to a new stadium. Hopefully, at least in my opinion, to be honest with you, I live in the Central Florida area, and if they could move to Orlando, I would be the happiest man on the planet. I would absolutely love that if they could come to Orlando. It's possible. I wouldn't say it's probably the number one option for them, but it's possible. If they come to Orlando, I'll tell you this right now. I will go to a lot of games. I will tell you that right now. But if they go to Tampa, if they open up a new ballpark in St. Petersburg, I think St. Petersburg, I don't think they want to stay in St. Petersburg because Tampa is just a bigger market. So I think that's their number one goal is Tampa. I don't know. I wonder if they would stay in St. Petersburg or if they would go to Orlando. I don't know. I think that's a really interesting question. I'm not a business guy by any means, so I don't really know what would be the better option. I don't know. But either way, I think winning a World Series would really help them, and I think that would bring fans to the stadium. I think that will obviously help bring in fans to come watch the games. So I feel like there is some motivation here with the Rays this year because they want to get themselves – they want to put themselves there. They've had good seasons in the past, but they've just never been able to win the big one, right? So I think they're motivated to try and win it. I mean, they're motivated every year, but I think there's a little extra emphasis this year considering they are trying to get a new stadium and they want people to come to the games. So maybe they could splurge. Maybe they could go out there and go get a guy. I mean, they were in the Freddie Freeman market a couple of years ago. These guys, hey, they're looking to make some moves. I think they really want to win it this year. So we'll have to wait and see, but the point I'm making here is they do have a lot of prospects. So if they wanted to go get a guy for the second half, they definitely could. Now, what guys could you possibly go for? Could someone like maybe Lucas Giolito? Could you maybe go after someone like a Dylan Cease? Possibly. I don't know if the White Sox would want to. I mean, I don't know. The thing with the White Sox is even if they trade guys, I don't think that necessarily means they're going to be just putting the nail in the coffin on competing for the next couple of years. I still think the White Sox have a pretty decent core where they could build around those guys and they can maybe, in the offseason, they can try and put together a pretty decent team for next year. So could the White Sox trade within the, in the American League, like someone like a Dylan Cease to Tampa? It would be out of the division, maybe. Possibly. I mean, if the Rays offer up some decent prospects, could you go after Dylan Cease? I mean, why not? I don't know. I think they would. The White Sox would probably prefer if they were to trade him. Probably trade him to the National League, I would imagine. Anyway, I digress. Now, for the hot take itself, I'll probably sell on it. I just think at this point, if they go 500 the rest of the way, if they go 55 and 56 the rest of the way, they're still going to finish with 91 wins. With how good this division is, it is possible if they win 91 games, they'll miss the playoffs. But I don't know, man. This is a really weird season. I mean, like, you're looking, there's not a lot of separation right now in Major League Baseball, minus a couple of teams. Even the White Sox speaking of the White Sox, they are starting to play a little better. If you look here, 7-3 in their last 10. They're 9 games under 500 right now. There's a lot of season left, man. There's a lot of talent on this White Sox team. I'm not counting the White Sox out completely right now. But it's just a weird season right now. There's so little separation in these divisions. I think it will eventually stretch out more, but I got to sell for Tampa missing the playoffs, honestly. I just think it's the funny thing is those teams that got off to the really hot starts as well. I'm going blank. I know one was the Braves, and I know another one was the Brewers that set the record for most wins to start the season. one of those teams, and I think it was the Brewers. I believe it was the Brewers. I don't remember the year. I think they tied the Brewers record. I'm going blank on it, but that Brewers team, I think, missed the playoffs. So you can get hot as they were, and you could still miss the playoffs. Again, the durability factor is going to be something to keep an eye on, but they have a lot of organizational depth. I think they'll be able to handle it. They got pieces. If they wanted to go make a trade or two, they could get it done. The Rays are very creative. I feel like in the end, they will figure it out, and they will make the playoffs. At least as a wild card. I don't know, man. That'd just be crazy if they didn't make the playoffs to me. So let's move on to the next hot take. Since we're in the American League East, let's talk about the Baltimore Orioles. And listen, I know the Rays, they have the best record in Major League Baseball right now. That doesn't mean they're going to win a World Series. We've seen many times, like the Dodgers last year, best record in Major League Baseball, losing the first round. Definitely could have the Rays a couple years ago, winning 100 games, losing to the Red Sox in the first round. So a team that I really think could give a lot of problems to teams in the American League are the Baltimore Orioles. And this hot take here from Mary Claypool Prod Fire Lightning emoji. Orioles will win the AL East and are World Series contenders. Now, taking a look at the Baltimore Orioles, the more I look at this Baltimore Orioles team, the more I just really like this team. Like, they are a very well-rounded team when you really think about it. One thing I think of, now, I don't know, this is kind of maybe a little old school sounding, but there's a few things that I look for when it comes to a World Series contender. A team that could actually, any team could win the World Series, but like a legitimate, serious contender for the World Series. I look at a few things. Starting pitching, first and foremost. You got to have starting pitching in the playoffs. You got to have it, right? We saw that last year with the Houston Astros. When you have good starting pitching, you can just dominate, right? But you got to have the starters, and they got to be able to go at least 5-6 innings into the game. I also look at a good back end of the bullpen. If you got at least 3 guys that can lock it down at the back end of the bullpen. Right now, the Orioles, they got 2 dudes, right, in Cano and Batista that can absolutely lock it down. If they can maybe pick up one more guy, I think that would be really helpful. So a strong back end of the bullpen, along with at least some above average starting pitching, I think. I don't think you need to have Houston Astros 2022 starting pitching, but you need to have at least decent, above average starting pitching. A lineup that not necessarily is going to just destroy you with runs, but a lineup that's just deep, that's going to be tough at bats 1 through 9, right? That's what I really look for. A pesky lineup that where anyone in the lineup doesn't necessarily mean you got to hit, everyone in the lineup has to have at least 20, 30 home runs, but guys that can really just have good at bats, they're pesky, they can put balls in play, and then you got 1 or 2 guys that can maybe come in and just do some damage. Like someone like last year with the Houston Astros, like a Yordan Alvarez, right? There were times last year in the playoffs he went quiet, but he came up big in moments, and he did damage when it mattered. And they got some guys in this lineup that can absolutely do some damage, like guys like Santander and Mountcastle in the middle. You got an electric guy in Cedric Mullins leading off. So a deep lineup. And when I say deep, I don't necessarily mean like the number 1 offense, but a lineup that can just take a lot of pitches, lineups that can really just give problems for the pitcher. And just make those pitchers work. And I think the Orioles lineup can do that. And one other thing I look for a strong spine. I've mentioned this before in prior streams, where what I mean by a strong spine, where solid up the middle defense, catcher, shortstop, second base, and center field. And when I'm looking at the up the middle, the spine of the Baltimore Orioles, they're very sturdy. You got Jorge Mateo at short. You got a veteran guy in Adam Frazier at second. You have Adley Rutschman leading the way behind the plate, one of the best catchers in the game, even though he's only 25 years old. Cedric Mullins out in center field. That's a really strong spine. That already right there, you're gravy, right there. That's a very strong up the middle for the Baltimore Orioles. Now, if we were to take a look here, when it comes to the offense with the Baltimore Orioles, they are, as of right now, the one thing with the Orioles, though, is they don't rank very well with defense overall. They got some guys that are really good defensively, but as a whole, they are slacking a little bit when it comes to the defense. But we saw last year with the Philadelphia Phillies, you don't necessarily need a great defense to make it to the World Series. But as of right now, Baltimore, they are 8th when it comes to Fangraph offense. When we look at the starting pitching, Baltimore, this is a bit of a problem for Baltimore, right? 24th overall when it comes to starting pitching, a 4.81 ERA, a 4.74 FIP, a 4.44 xFIP. I'm not a big fan of those numbers. I do like the fact that they keep the walks down. They're under 3 walks per 9. I would like some more strikeouts in here if possible. But the one thing that Baltimore has going for them is a very strong bullpen. You have in the top 10, 2 guys in the top 10. They're at the back end of your bullpen right now. Yennier Cano and Felix Bautista. If we go look at the overall rankings, Baltimore is number 1 in Fangraph WAR when it comes to relief pitching. A very strong bullpen, a very solid lineup, a good up the middle with Baltimore. But the one thing I don't like with Baltimore is the starting pitching. They're going to have to make a move. Do they necessarily go out and break the bank this year? I think with Baltimore, they are staying very patient. They're doing the opposite of what the Detroit Tigers did. The Tigers had that season where they exceeded expectations a little bit. Everyone was getting really high on the Detroit Tigers. And then they went to the offseason, they splurged, they signed Eduardo Rodriguez, they signed Javier Baez, and then all of a sudden the Tigers take a step back and no one knows what the heck's going on with this Tigers team. The Orioles did the opposite. Now, I was wondering, are they going to go out there and sign Carlos Correa in the offseason? They didn't do that. They didn't go after any big guys because they're sticking to their long-term plan, developing players, building up the farm, building a sustained successful model in Baltimore that will last for years. So I don't necessarily know if they're going to go out there and really break the bank. Let's say the Brewers fall out of contention. I don't know if they go out and break the bank for someone like a Corbin Burns. I don't know if they splurge for someone like a Dylan Cease if he gets himself back on track. I don't know if they go after someone like a Lucas Giolito as a rental for a half season. I could see that over maybe some of these other guys out there that might cost you a pretty penny because that won't cost you too much. I could see them doing something like that, like a rental sort of a guy. I see there's more of a chance there, but the Orioles are going to need to get some starting pitching. And if we go back to the Orioles here, again, it's not the worst rotation out there, but they need something. You got Gibson here. You got a young electric guy in Grayson Rodriguez, but when it comes to winning a World Series, what is his innings limit this year? What is he going to be? Where is he going to be? How much will he even be pitching? If they were to go deep into the playoffs, I would love it if a young guy like that could go deep into the playoffs. You got Kramer, you got Bradish. The starting pitching has actually been pretty decent lately for the Orioles, but as a whole, for the whole year so far, it hasn't been great. I do think if they want to make a deep playoff run, I feel like they should go after a guy here in the back end, or maybe add a guy in the back end of the rotation possibly that can give you maybe some innings. But I would love a guy that could really just leave an impact, right, for this Orioles rotation, really kind of take them to the next level. I would love that. As a Red Sox fan, I would hate it, but as just someone that really respects this team, if they have World Series aspirations this year, I think they got to add someone for this rotation. Now, one more thing about the bullpen is I love Bautista and Cano in the back end, but I am seeing Max Reed, thank you for subscribing, my friend, but I am seeing some guys, here that aren't ranking very well with the Fangraph power rankings. So maybe you could even add another guy, or maybe you could add a starter, and maybe one of these starters can go to the bullpen possibly. I love the back end. I love the lineup. I love I don't know what I just like this team. Like, it's just a well-rounded team. I think they have a chance at winning a World Series this year. That might be a bit of a bold take. It is hot takes, by the way. I buy it. I think they could win the World Series this year. I think could. Emphasis on the could. right? I'm not saying they will. I think some people will say out there they're probably not quite there yet. But why couldn't they? Why couldn't they? A lot of people last year thinking, wow, where'd this Orioles team come from? And now, people were wondering, coming into this year, myself included, wondering how much of a step forward will they take this year? And look at what they're doing right now. They're 3.5 behind the Rays, 31-17, a very solid start. Why couldn't they be World Series contenders? I think they need to do a couple of things. They need to make a couple of moves to really plant themselves into that conversation. It's a good team, though. This Orioles team, it's fantastic, and I think they're going to be pretty solid for the rest of the year, and I absolutely think they can make the playoffs. Why couldn't they make the playoffs? And I definitely think they could be World Series contenders. They're just a strong team overall. So, Joe Hill with a super chat coming in. Hot take. Alex Lang will be MLB's top closer by the end of the year and the Tigers' hottest trade commodity. Now, if we go take a look here at the Detroit Tigers, they're still in second place right now. They are taking advantage of this weak division. They're 21-25, 3 games back. All the Tigers need to do, all they need to do is get hot. Just get hot. And they could, why not? Again, this is a weird season. Everything is so different about this year, and that's what I really like about this year. You had all the rule changes. Games are finishing up by like 10:30 now. They're moving so much quicker. I feel like there's just, I don't know, it's just a different feel this year. I've mentioned this, a couple of times. It just feels different this year. It just feels like almost like a bit of a new game this year. So why not? And we're seeing some surprising starts. The Texas Rangers, I think people thought they would be good. I don't think a lot of people saw the Rangers being this good. The Marlins, they're kind of hanging around here. The Pirates got off to that hot start. They're 2 back in the division. The Diamondbacks, I saw them being good this year. They're doing well, 29-21. The Padres are off to an extremely cold start. The Giants are hot lately. The White Sox are absolutely abysmal. It's just, there's a lot of storylines going on in the season so far. We're having breakout guys, even like speaking of the Orioles, Cano in the bullpen. Like, who saw that? This guy was awful last year, and this guy's he's the best reliever in the game right now. So he's the setup guy for the Orioles, but Cano is the best reliever in the game as of right now, according to Fangraphs. So, the Tigers, why couldn't they maybe even just compete? When it comes to Alex Lang, this guy, speaking of relievers, yeah, he's really good this year. He's been very good. But I think the Tigers, just because you're playing bad doesn't necessarily mean you're going to start selling guys off, I personally think. The Tigers, they're trying to build a contender. And to me, it's like the Pirates, everyone talking about the Pirates trading Brian Reynolds. I'm thinking, why would they trade Brian Reynolds? This is a guy, he's entering his prime. The Pirates have all these young guys coming up. Why would you want to trade Brian Reynolds? This is a guy you should sign to an extension, right? You want to build around Brian Reynolds. To me, I don't know why the Tigers would want to, give up on some of these guys that are under control for a long time. I just don't see it, right? I don't know. That's just my opinion. Joe Hill, thank you for the $5 super chat. Really do appreciate that. If anyone does want to drop a hot take during the show, just drop a super chat. I've already picked out my hot takes for the night. So if you want to get onto the show, you can drop a super chat like Joe Hill did. Joe Hill, thank you so much again. All right, everyone. Let's get on to the next one here. So, speaking of, how can I make this transition? You know me, I like the transitions. How can we do the transition here? I can't think of a transition. Let's just move to it. I got one. I'm talking about how it's kind of like a weird year. Everyone saw the Mets being a really good team, and the Mets off to a bit of a slow start, playing better lately. But could Pete Alonso be the MVP from Canon Lock? Pete Alonso gets his OBP and average up and wins the NL MVP. Ooh, I like it. Here we go. Let's talk about Pete Alonso here. So Pete Alonso now leading the major leagues in home runs. However, We're looking like the hot take says. We're looking a little low on the batting average. We're looking a little low on the on-base percentage. If we go take a look here, Pete Alonso, when it comes to Fangraph offense, he is only 32nd overall. That has to do with the low batting average. That has to do with the low on base, but the slugging is looking good. The WRC plus is looking good. Personally, I'm going to sell on this. I don't think Pete Alonso is going to win the MVP right now. This is Ronald Acuna Jr.'s award to lose. You know, I mean, my goodness, this guy's off the charts right now. I mean, we still got a lot of season left, but Ronald Acuna Jr., what he's doing right now, he's putting together a really special year, hitting .337, a .427 on base, .588 slugging, 11 homers. He's got 20 stolen bases as well. This dude's a legit. I mean, he's already halfway to 40 stolen bases, and we're not even halfway through the season. That's pretty insane. He could be. I mean, actually, hold on. Let me do a little math here. Let me do a little math. How many home runs is he on pace for? So let's do 11 divided by 48. If he were to play a full 162, he's on pace for 37 homers. So let's say he stays at this pace. Let's say he ends up playing 150 games. So if he plays 150 games, he's on pace for 34 home runs. I think he has a shot at a 40-50 season. But that's I don't know if he's going to, I don't know. It's going to be tough for him to get that, but why not? Either way, it doesn't matter. It's a special season for Ronald Acuna Jr. This is my MVP pick 2 years ago, and his knee exploded, and then he ruined all my. That dude was going to win the MVP 2 years ago. I will forever be sad about that because he was doing what he was doing now 2 years ago. Goodness, and I was just laughing my way to the bank, thinking no one picked Ronald Acuna Jr. for the MVP, and I'm just looking great, and then he just fell off the cliff. So. But I don't think Pete Alonso is going to win the MVP. I just don't see the batting average really getting up all that much. I think the on base could get up a little bit, but Pete Alonso, this is a guy. He's always been really just a power guy. He's going to have a high slugging. He's going to do damage. I just don't really see him as an MVP kind of a guy. You know, like I said, Ronald Acuna Jr., this is a guy to pay attention to. Paul Goldschmidt, he's always going to be solid offensively, but I don't think Paul Goldschmidt will win again. You know, he's got his own teammate on there, Nolan Gorman, who's having an awesome season. Can he just get red hot? Could Juan Soto, that was a lot of people's MVP pick, including mine. Can Juan Soto get red hot? This is a second half guy. Let's say Ronald Acuna Jr. slows down in the second half. Juan Soto would be primed to maybe steal that award because he's always been a second half guy. He's been playing better. That batting average is getting up. The on base is over 400. He needs to get the slugging up more. He's got to hit some more home runs. But I think Juan Soto has a chance to go really crazy in the second half and end up winning that award. You know, we've seen guys have really good second halves. You know, Bryce Harper not too long ago, where they just get so hot in the second half. And that, you know, I mean, honestly, Juan Soto, I think, is really set up to put together an MVP campaign because if he can get red hot, he'll have that storyline behind him where he will carry the Padres to the playoffs where they got off to the cold start. So he already has like that storyline just set up for him, right? He's already, you know, like I said, he's a second half hitter anyway. He's always cold in the first month, and then he slowly heats up in the first half of the year, and then he just explodes in the second half. So I think Ronald Acuna Jr., he's off to an amazing start, but he's going to have to keep this up. And hey, Ronald Acuna Jr., durability has been an issue with him. Can he keep this going for the whole year? We'll have to wait and see. But Mookie Betts could get hot in the second half. So I do firmly believe Pete Alonso will not win the MVP. I just don't think I'm not saying he's a bad player. I just don't think he's really an MVP kind of a player. He would have to go crazy, I think, to win it. So we have another super chat coming in. Wonder Davey, how you doing? $5 super chat. Hot take. The A's shatter the record for the worst winning percentage set by the 1962 Mets. I think that's very possible. The problem with the Oakland A's, it's, you know, go back to the Detroit Tigers in 2003. The Detroit Tigers, they at least had like young players, right? You had Jeremy Bonderman on that team. You know, you even had guys like Dimitri Young on that team. they had guys that were still throwing quite a lot of innings. The problem with the A's is they got some guys, but really, how deep are these guys going to really – how many innings are these guys in the rotation really going to get at the end of the year? There's really nothing in the bullpen. You got guys like Brent Rooker, Esteury Ruiz, but there's not really a whole lot with the Oakland A's. There's not a lot of depth. There's not really a whole lot of prospects they can really turn to where, it's bad in Oakland right now. Oakland, I don't know if Oakland's really going to be good for the next 5 years. I really think it's going to be a pretty tough rebuild for them, obviously moving to Vegas. So I don't know. I don't think we're going to see a good A's team until they get to Vegas, personally. Who knows? Maybe that year before they go to Vegas, maybe that last season in Oakland, maybe they could get hot. I don't know. I don't even know what's even happening with that. Are they just going to end up playing somewhere in Vegas? I don't know. I forget. When does the stadium deal run out? I forget. Wasn't it 20? I can't remember. Was it 27? I don't remember. But anyway, I do agree with you. I do think Oakland is really set up for one of the worst seasons of all time. So I agree with you, Wonder Davey. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Awesome. Here we go. Speaking of really good hitters, Pete Alonso's a good hitter. Now, I don't know if he's an MVP guy, but could this guy be an MVP guy? Could this guy end up being one of the best hitters of all time? We got two separate ones here about Yordan Alvarez, one from CJ Eatman and one from San Fran 01. CJ says if he keeps up his current pace, Yordan Alvarez will go down as a top 10 hitter all time. And then San Fran says, Yordan MVP season. He is the best hitter in the game. I love this. I love looking at whether or not a guy could end up being one of the best hitters of all time. I actually did some number crunching, surprisingly. Here we go, Yordan Alvarez. Let's take a look at the season that he's having so far. 42 games, hitting .303, 407 on base, a .612 slugging, 178 WRC plus, 12 homers. We all know the deal with Yordan Alvarez. This guy is absolutely fantastic. Actually, let's take a look at the leaderboards as of right now. We were just looking at the leaderboards with Pete Alonso. When it comes to Yordan Alvarez, as of right now, he is 10th overall in Fangraph WAR. However, that is also looking at negative defense. When we're looking at just the offense, Yordan Alvarez is 3rd overall. I think there's absolutely an argument that he's the best hitter in the American League. I don't know about the game right now. I mean, with what Ronald Acuna Jr. is doing right now, with what Aaron Judge did last year too, you got competition with him in the American League. I mean, Freeman is always just really good. But what Yordan Alvarez is doing right now, it is just special. It's really special what he's doing. And I'm not trying to, excuse my giraffe neck Robbie here, but Yordan Alvarez really, I've said this before about him, he really reminds me of David Ortiz. He gives me those same kind of vibes, just this big dude in the box. He has a presence in the box. He's just something, he's just a dude you never want to pitch to. I would be scared for my life if I was going up against Yordan Alvarez. I mean, look at the numbers here on StatCast. They're off the charts. He's in the top percentiles in pretty much everything. The strikeout percentage, he's middle of the road, but hey, whatever. He's still walking a lot. Yordan Alvarez is awesome, and he's only 25 years old. He is 6'5", 225. The dude is an absolute tank. Like I said, he reminds me a lot of David Ortiz, just this big dude. Ortiz was 6'4", 250. I mean, just a big guy, man. So, could Yordan Alvarez... so let me answer the first one. Best hitter in the game? I think there's definitely an argument. I would say, I think we can all agree. I think most of us could agree that Yordan Alvarez is, I don't know, because there's other guys in the American League that are really good too. I would be okay if people said hey, Yordan Alvarez, this is the best hitter in the American League. Yeah, I would probably say, yeah, I think you're pretty close, with that. I think arguably he is the best hitter in the American League. You're going to have arguments for other guys. That's what I'm trying to say. But Alvarez, what this guy does, it's off the charts. I mean, and he's also just a presence too, man. So, yeah, I can definitely buy the American League. In the entire game, there is just going to be so much debate. But with what Acuna is doing right now, I think you have to give the edge to Acuna just based off of what he's doing right now. And Freeman is so good. Soto, let's see what he ends up finishing with. But Yordan Alvarez is definitely in the top 10. I would say they're arguably top 5 in Major League Baseball. So now the question is, will he be a top 10 hitter all time? This was pretty fun. Now, I pulled up the all-time offensive leaderboards. Babe Ruth at number 1, Barry Bonds number 2, Ted Williams at number 3, Ty Cobb, Lou Gehrig, Stan Musial, Hank Aaron. All right, we all know the names. So I did some math. So right now, let me go back. So stay with me here. Try and listen as best as you can to this. So right now, Yordan Alvarez, he has 18.1 points of offense on Fangraphs. He is on pace for right around 70 points, which would be amazing, right? That would be a lot for a full season. That would be a career high for him. If he ends up finishing with 70 points this season, he will have a total of 185 points over 5 years. So that would be an average of 37, right? So if he were to average 37 points per season for the next 10 years, that would be an additional 370 points on top of if he were to finish with 70 this year, he would have 185 at the end of this year. Add 370 to it, and you're looking at 555 points. Now, if we go back to the leaderboards, the all-time leaderboards, 555 would put him tied with Mark McGwire at number 30, right? With 555. So if he were to average 37 points a season over the next 10 years, that would put him at number 30 all time. Let's say he is on the same path that David Ortiz was on. David Ortiz ended up playing 20 years total. Let's say he averaged 37 points over the next 15 years. That might be a little tough. Let's say, but if he did that, he would end up finishing with 740. And that would put him at 13th all time ahead of Frank Robinson. So let's say he played 15 more years. Let's say he averaged 20 points a season for 15 years. So you're looking at, I can't do math in my head. Goodness gracious. So you're looking at 300 more points, right? So let's say he ended up getting 300 more for his career. Already has 185 at the end of this year. So that would be 485, right? So if he has 485, that would put him in the top 45. I think Yordan Alvarez has a chance. I think he definitely has a chance at the top 50. Top 25, I think he can do it. It'd be pretty tough, right? Because you're looking at Mike Trout as of right now is at number 23, right? So it's definitely possible. I think there's definitely a chance. I would say if he stays healthy, right? I'll say like a 95% chance he finishes like top 50 all time. If he can keep doing it for the next 15 years, again, he's a big guy. He's probably going to run into some durability issues at some point. He's just a big dude. It's just going to happen to these big guys. But if he DHs like Ortiz, I think he could end up having a long career. I absolutely think he could be a top 50, and I think there's a chance he could be top 25. Top 10? This is a really hot take because you're looking at like some the most exclusive of exclusive company. At number 10, you have Willie Mays. I don't know if Yordan Alvarez is going to get to that. Willie Mays was just out of his mind. I could see somewhere in the 30 to 20 range, possibly. I think that is realistic. Top 50, I absolutely think is realistic if he stays on the pace that he's on. All right. Either way, Yordan Alvarez, I guess what we can all agree on is this guy's just really good. And I hope he keeps it up for the rest of his career. But the scary thing is he's only 25 years old. He's a couple of months away from turning 26. And with what he is doing, I think we could be watching one of the best hitters of all time. I think we could be seeing the next David Ortiz, even better than David Ortiz at the end of the day. I think there's a real chance that he ends up being one of the best hitters of all time. So, yeah, I will agree with those hot takes. To an extent, I think you could say he is the best hitter in the American League. As of right now, maybe not the major leagues because Ronald Acuna Jr. is just going crazy. And I don't think he'll be a top 10 hitter of all time. I think there's more of a chance he could be top 25, top 30, right? Definitely top 50. I think there's a chance for that. I won't say top 10. I won't say top 10 for that. So, moving on here. Moving on to our next hot take. Actually, real quick, we got to go over tonight's sponsor, and that is SORARE. MLB. It's my new favorite way to play fantasy baseball. Just checking on my team as of right now. Actually, let's refresh. Let's see how my team is doing. I got two teams right now. I'm in the minors tournament and I'm in the common majors tournament. So as of right now, I'm in the top 50% in the minors, and I'm actually doing pretty well in the common all-star tournament. I'm right now 5,017th out of 26,628. So right now I'm projected for a tier 2 reward. And then for this one, I'm projected for tier 3. So, and actually, from this past weekend, I did get a reward. So let's see what the reward is that I got. I did pretty well. This is a tier 2 reward. Let's take a look here. New York Mets catcher. Oh, we got a Francisco Alvarez. Wardy, where are you at, Wardy? I got to take a picture of this. I'm going to send it to you, my friend. I am taking a picture of this live for you, Wardy, on the stream. Francisco Alvarez is now on my team. I'm actually pretty stoked with this. Alvarez has been having himself a really good year. Buster Olney, where are you at? Buster Olney tweeted the other day that Francisco Alvarez could possibly be sent down. Why would the Mets send Francisco Alvarez down with the year that he's having? Buster Olney, ESPN, you are all garbage. You're done. It's time for bed. You need to go night-night. You're done. Over. Kaput. Put a nail in the coffin. It's over. Buster Olney, your time is up. You're done, my friend. I don't know what the heck you're talking about, Buster Olney. My goodness, go have yourself a sandwich because you're out of your mind. Anyway, Francisco Alvarez now on my team. But again, taking a look at my teams, we're doing okay so far. Either way, I've been collecting cards slowly but surely. We've been making the team a little bit better. I've pulled some really good cards lately. Every time, the better you do in these tournaments, the better the rewards you will get. So, like I said, a tier 2 reward is projected for me right now, so that's going to end up being something pretty decent. But Whit Merrifield is having himself... The Blue Jays right now are just having an incredible week when it comes to points. Nate Lowe has been one of the most underrated guys. This guy is just really killing it this year. McClanahan did really well today, picking up his 8th win. Judge is still staying solid. Yoshida's been okay. Hayes picked up a few points earlier. Trey Turner is finally picking it up for me. My goodness, Trey Turner this year. My goodness. But I'm doing okay in these tournaments right now. So for you to get started, click the link in the description below. The first link is going to be for you to get started drafting your team. Then when you draft your team, I want you to go back to the description and I want you to click the link below that. That is going to allow you to join my own league, the Robbie Hyde League. So, and another thing too, starting next week, for the winners of the tournaments from May 29th to June 29th, winners of tournaments will receive a subscription to MLB TV for the rest of the year, completely free of charge. There is no reason why you should not sign up for this. Go sign up, go draft your team, go enter my league, and go win yourself a free subscription to MLB TV. It's completely free to get started. You don't have to pay a dime. You can go buy cards if you want to. I haven't bought one card on here. I haven't spent any money. I've just been playing. I've been slowly collecting the cards and getting my teams better. So click the links in the descriptions below and go get yourself started with SORARE MLB, our sponsor for the show tonight. Let's move on here. We got a few more hot takes, and we got a fun one here. I won't spend too long on this one. I got to get a Red Sox one in here. A friend of the channel, Red Seat Radio, jumping on in. James Paxton finishes 2023 healthy with a 3.79 ERA. I love the exact number right there. And wins comeback player of the year. Dude, I will be absolutely stoked if James Paxton ends up having a healthy year and gets comeback player of the year. The only problem is, I think, is he's got his own teammate to worry about in Chris Sale. I feel like Chris Sale, he has really been getting a lot of attention this year. You know, he's had a couple of rough starts, but he's had some really good starts as well. James Paxton, if he can stay healthy for the rest of the year, I think he has a shot. But right now, he's one of the bright spots of the Red Sox, even though it's only a couple of starts. But he's looked really good so far. Looked really good against the Padres. Who was the other? I can't remember who he went up against in his first start. I'm going blank. Was it the Mariners? No, it wasn't the Mariners. Who did he go up against in his first start? It was the Cardinals. That's right. He went 5 innings, struck out 9 in his first start. Out of his mind. But James Paxton, it's just great to see him healthy. It's great to see him doing well. He's going to be a big part of the Red Sox rotation moving forward. And taking a look, actually, at the Red Sox, like I said, Corey Kluber going to the bullpen. It was a bit of a surprise to me. Again, it's just so weird seeing Corey Kluber in the bullpen, but they decided to, instead of putting Garrett Whitlock in the bullpen, which there's still a lot of people out there, even myself a little bit included, I got spoiled. We all got spoiled over Garrett Whitlock in the bullpen, and I think it's going to be hard for a lot of Red Sox fans to fully move on from Garrett Whitlock in the bullpen. But hey, they're sticking with it. They really want this guy to be a starter. He can do it. I mean, he had a really good start his last time out, but then he started having some nerve issues. So this rotation, you know, Bayo didn't look amazing last night. Howe looked okay the other night. You know, they both were okay the last couple of nights. Just the offense didn't really come through. But there is potential. There's upside in this rotation. So it's just really weird seeing Corey Kluber in long relief. You know, Nick Pivetta came out of the bullpen for the first time the other day against the Padres on Sunday. It was whatever. But, you know, it's giving the bullpen length, which I like. You know, if this rotation can just stay healthy and they can just stay consistent for the rest of the year, yeah, I think this is a good rotation. And James Paxton, does he have a shot at comeback player of the year? Absolutely he does. He's just going to have a problem with Chris Sale because Chris Sale is absolutely going to be a comeback player of the year candidate because this guy has just had so many injuries over the last few years. But Paxton, I mean, you know, the thing with Sale is he has pitched in the last couple of years. Paxton hasn't. So I think it'll be pretty interesting to see if these guys both end up having good seasons, which one will get comeback player of the year. Could he do a co-comeback player of the year? I think that'd be pretty fun. So Red Seat Radio, friend of the channel, thank you for the hot take, my friend. I appreciate that. Let's talk about a team. You know, let's talk about a couple of teams here. The Miami Marlins. The Marlins they're a really interesting team this year. And this is from S. Rosner saying here, the Marlins will be a sneaky team after adding Lucas Giolito and a bat at the deadline and finish second in their division, making the wild card. So I'm going to say no on the Lucas Giolito thing because I don't think the Marlins necessarily need starting pitching. I think if anything, they need some bats. So you do say here, adding a bat, you know, what could they possibly add? If we go take a look here at the Marlins. So right now, like you said, well, your hot take is for them to finish second. As of right now, they're in third. They're 5.5 back. They're a game back in the wild card. I don't think they will finish second in the end. I think they'll be in the mix for that wild card in the end. I don't think they're going to finish second. So I'll say no on that. But I think they could be in the mix for a wild card, and I think they could add a bat. Now, if we go take a look at maybe some bats that they could add, Solare's been getting hot lately. Brian De La Cruz has been hot lately. Luis Arraez has been just basically hot all season. They got some bats here, you know, but could you possibly, you know, maybe go out there and go get yourself an outfielder? You know, could you maybe go get something, you know, to add some thump to this lineup? You know, there will be some guys out there, so I could see it. They have some prospects. You know, if they're in the mix for a wild card, sure, I could see the Marlins doing something like that. When it comes to the rotation, I don't think you need to add Lucas Giolito. You got Alcantara. People are getting on to, you know, Alcantara this year. His FIP is a lot lower than his ERA, so keep that in mind. I think Alcantara's fine. You got Braxton Garrett, who's been really good lately. Luzardo, Cabrera, Perez. I think the starting pitching is fine. You know, surprisingly, this bullpen has actually been really good. Miami's bullpen is 3rd overall over the last 2 weeks. So good bullpen lately for the Marlins. The starting pitching, when it comes to the last couple of weeks, Miami is 9th overall, so they're getting good pitching. It's just the offense for Miami. They're 17th overall over the last 7 days, and it's better than what they've been. They have been hitting a little bit more lately, but they need something else in this lineup, I think. You know, you got a couple of guys really producing, but I think they will need a bat. So getting back to the hot take, I'll sell on the hot take of them finishing in 2nd. I do think they can hang around in the wild card picture. And I think they could add a bat. I think they're going to need to add something there, but I'll say no on adding a starting pitcher. Maybe they could add a bullpen guy. Again, the bullpen has been doing pretty good lately, but maybe you can go out there. I think the Marlins will be busy. I think they will look to make a couple of moves. They probably won't break the bank by any means, but they'll try and add a couple of decent guys. Moving on here, our last hot take of the night. Let's shift gears. Let's go from a team that maybe could be competing. Well, this team should be competing, but they are just off to a very cold start this year. The San Diego Padres. What will the Padres look like in the next 5 years? According to Tice Thompson, in 5 years, the Padres will be in a lot of trouble, and these big contracts will come back to haunt them. Now, the Padres, man, like what is happening with this Padres team? Taking a look. 3-7 in their last 10. They picked up a couple of wins in the last couple of games. They're playing right now. How are they doing right now? They're playing the Nationals. What are the Padres doing? Okay, never mind. The Nationals beat them. So another loss for the San Diego Padres. So they're 22-27. Just tough times right now for the Padres. They are now 8 games back in the division. They're still in the wild card mix. I had them winning a wild card. I didn't think they were going to be winning this division. To me, it was the Dodgers to lose. But I think they will be hanging around in the wild card picture. But you make a really good point here talking about the next 5 years or so. Because you got to, if you look, Machado, I mean, man, his salary is going to pick up in 26. Jimmy Productions, $1.99 super chat. I'll get to that in just 1 second, Jimmy. He's going to be making a lot of money in who knows how bad this is going to be. Making almost $40 million per year. I don't know. Bogarts. I think Bogarts is going to be fine for the next 3 to 4 years, but how is he going to be in the last 3? Tatis, you never know what's going to be going on with this guy. He's been all right so far this year. But they got some money really tied up here. And the problem with the Padres is that their farm system now does just not rank very well. So if we go here at the rankings, when it comes to organizational rankings, the Padres, they're near the bottom. They're 23rd right now. So remember, they had the top farm system just a few years ago. But they got rid of a lot of those pieces to bring in guys like Juan Soto, to bring in Yu Darvish. They gave up a lot, to bring in some of these guys, Musgrove, Snell. So they've really given up a lot of pieces. So they're going to have to rebuild this farm. I think they will end up getting this farm system back in order. And I think that was their plan. They thought, all right, let's just add as much talent as we can. Let's try and, win a World Series here in the next few years. And we will rebuild this farm while they are, trying to compete. It's going to be hard to rebuild it. Sure, you have the draft and you have international free agency. But, will they at some point unload one of these guys let's say they're bad next year. Could they end up just, trading Soto? Could you end up trading Bogarts at some point? Could Musgrove end up being a guy that you end up shipping out? I don't know. So of course, you have the draft, you have international free agency, so maybe they're banking on the fact that they feel like they can really rebuild their farm just through that way. Or will they end up having to take the route of the Nationals, where the Nationals had a bad farm, they traded Soto, and they just rebuilt the top of their farm system just with trading Juan Soto. So, I don't know. I think it's interesting. It's still a wait and see for me. I think the Padres, they will end up at some point running into a bit of a rough patch. I think that's possible, where there could be a year where just things really just implode and they end up having to sell off a couple of pieces. But let's see if they can rebuild this thing through draft and international signing. So, just getting back to the hot take itself, I think they could have some trouble at some point. I think they'll maneuver their way around a bit. They could have some tough times a little bit, but I don't know. I'm not going to say they're going to turn into a complete disaster. I think they could have some rough moments. So, Jimmy Productions, $2 super chat. Do you still teach? What grade? Yes, I do still teach. I have 2 more days of school left. 2 more days. I couldn't be more excited. Friday is my last day, and I teach 4th grade. So I'm pretty excited for our summer, for me and all of you watching at home. We're going to have a fun summer of baseball. Lots of streaming, lots of content. Speaking of content, baseball trade values, we're going to be doing a show of them in probably the next week. Might be next week, maybe in a couple of weeks. I'm going to shoot for next week, where we're going to talk about some possible trade candidates, early trade candidates. So John Bitzer of Baseball Trade Values, his time of the year is coming back up. We got trade season coming up. It's going to be right around the corner. But we will be having him on the show to talk trades, talk trade candidates. So be on the lookout for that. I'm going to shoot for either next week or the week after. So stay tuned for that. Jimmy Productions, feel bad for Soto, left DC to go to under 500 team. It's crazy, man. I think Soto at this point, sure, he wants to win, but I think this guy, he wants to get himself that contract. So he's going to get himself a lot of money. He'll get himself some money. Everyone, I'm going to get out of here. Don't forget about our sponsors, SORARE, MLB. Oh, we got another super chat coming in from Jimmy. Do any of your students know you're a YouTuber? Have any students that you have before know your... Yeah, so I have a few students that know I have a channel, and yes, my students do know that I have my channel as well. So, I don't like to really talk about it all that much. That's just not really something I like to talk about a lot with my students. If it comes up here and there, I'll talk about it, but don't like to go too crazy, So, Jimmy, thank you for the super chats, my friend. You're awesome. But everyone, don't forget about tonight's sponsors, SORARE MLB. Click the link in the description below. Get your team drafted. We have the first tournament this week ending tomorrow. Make sure you draft your team before this weekend. The weekend tournament starts Friday when games begin on Friday. And when you have drafted your team, click the link below, the first link. That way you can join my league. I want to play all of you at home. I want to see if I can beat all of you at home. Let's see if you can beat me. It'll be fun. It's just a good time. Don't need to even spend a penny to get started. And if you do win tournaments from May 29th to June 29th, you will win a subscription to MLB TV. I'm even considering possibly doing, maybe even like a giveaway. If you sign up for the league, I might even, possibly do like a jersey giveaway or something like that, or maybe like an MLB.com gift card or something like that. So anyway, go get started on it. It's very fun. I know I'm pushing it a lot, but I enjoy it, and I think you'll all enjoy it too. So everyone, I'm out of here. I got to go finish some laundry. I got to work in the morning. Have yourself a great night, everyone. Thank you for coming out to Hot Takes. Thank you for everyone that submitted a hot take. Thank you for the super chats tonight. And everyone, go have yourself a great night, and I'll talk to you next time.